Built for Chase podcast, where we help men and women out there grow through leadership development. And the way that we do that is interviewing awesome guests. And then I also hop in here and do a quick recap, pulling out one leadership principle that I hear in the interview and elaborating more on that, telling stories, helping you grow through leadership development. Today, I'm recapping the interview I did with John Akoyan, the CEO of Rooter Hero, the largest residential home service plumbing company in California, where he employs well over 400 people. John has an amazing story, and he shared such great leadership tips. Today, I'm going to talk about overcoming the victim mentality. But before I do, I want to remind everybody out there that our goal for this podcast is to grow organically. And the only way we can do that is through subscribing and sharing this with a friend. And then also, if you really love the content, we would love to hear from you by leaving, a review on any of the platforms. This helps really guide our future conversations, the guests that we have on the show, and also the recaps that I'm doing here when I'm talking about leadership topics. So let's go ahead and dive in. I told you, John, he owns the largest residential plumbing service company in California. In the interview, he talks about his life growing up and about his dad and about his mom and some of the core values that they have instilled in him. And so I want to talk about that a little bit at first as we dive into overcoming this victim mentality. And one thing he said that his dad instilled in him at an early age is a hard work ethic. He told a story about his dad being a truck driver, working long hours, and then on Sundays they would wash, clean, change the oil, grease everything, get his truck ready to go for the week. So his dad really instilled with him his hard work ethic, also his ability to work with his hands and with tools. And then his mom kind of comboed that with positive reinforcement and encouragement. And unfortunately, John lost his dad at an early age in his life. And initially, John talks about being a victim to that and how he allowed that to choose the wrong path for his life, where he surrounded himself with the wrong people. He was doing the wrong things, and he was blaming everybody else for his circumstances. He was blaming everybody else for the loss of his dad and the trauma that he experienced. And it wasn't until this point in his life where he realized that, you know what? I need to take these negatives and turn them into a positive. And big part of that are the people that came into his life that helped to show him that the power of the people you hang around and your thoughts and your words lead to your actions and your results. And so instead of using that trauma of losing his dad as an opportunity to be a victim, he used it as a stepping stool to move into his success in his life. And what I mean by that is it became his superpower. He experienced this and it was tough, but he realized that this makes him uniquely who he is. As a leader, experiencing something like that can either build you up or can tear you down. And he chose to let it build him up. So he started to change his mindset, and he started to surround himself with the right people. And he started to look for, what am I grateful for? What are the opportunities that I have? And that led him to where he is at today. And he was very intentional about that. So as we talk about overcoming the victim mentality, if you're still listening to this, you may be wondering, just like me, do I have a victim mentality first and foremost? So I had to do some research. And the second thing is, you may be thinking about a friend or family member or a coworker that you work with who may have this victim mentality. So my hope is that sharing this information will help you know what to look for and help you learn to overcome having this victim mentality. So I want to give credit where credit's due. I did some research and pulled this victim mentality notes from healthline.com. And I'm not going to read note for note, but I'm going to give you all a pretty good overview, kind of framing what this victim mentality looks like. So it says victim mentality rests on three key beliefs. The first one is that bad things happen and will keep happening. The second one, other people or circumstances are to blame. And then the third is any efforts to create change will fail, so there is no point in trying. You can just think about those three key beliefs put yourself in this box and limits your growth and limits your success just by thinking and speaking those words. It is so powerful. So when it comes to identifying people or yourself with a victim mentality, right? And the first thing they talk about is avoiding responsibility. May involve things like placing blame elsewhere, making excuses, not taking responsibility, or reacting to most of life's hurdles with "it's not my fault." Number two here, they talk about another key sign is not seeking possible solutions. Number three is having the sense of powerlessness. Number four, negative self-talk and self-sabotage. So I want to dive into some of these here and talk about some tools that you can apply to your life today to help you overcome this victim mentality that you may or may not be facing. So number one, it says avoiding responsibility, right? So as a team member, if we are avoiding responsibility, the reason why we're doing that is because we don't want to have ownership in the results of this outcome. And so it could be because, you know, it could be good because we're led by a boss or a manager who has said, "Hey, I want you to take ownership over this situation," but they swoop in there and undercut you and make decisions for you. And you have that past experience that you're like, you know what? I don't want to claim this because I know that you're going to go around me and you're going to talk to people and you're going to make decisions that's going to end up hurting the results of this. So that's one thing that could be causing this lack of people around you wanting to take responsibility, or a lack of you wanting to take responsibility. So the best way you can fix that is having a good organizational chart in your business and having a good chain of command and living by that chain of command, knowing that, yes, somebody, yourself or somebody around you, may still screw it up, but communicating, having an open line of communication where you can get people back on track and say, look, I'm willing to take responsibility for this goal or for this result, as long as you don't go around me and undercut my leadership. I'm willing to take ownership. That's one way that you could start to overcome a victim mentality, or somebody around you help them overcome that victim mentality. Number two here was not seeking possible solutions. So it says, not all negative situations are completely uncontrollable. Even if they seem that way at first, often there's at least some small action that can lead to improvement. It says people who come from a place of victimization may show little interest in trying to make changes. They may reject offers of help, and it may seem like they're only interested in feeling sorry for themselves. So when I think about not seeking possible solutions, I'm thinking about somebody who is constantly living in this negative mindset that everything bad always happens to me and I'm never going to improve in this area, and so on and so forth. And so the first thing I would say to fixing this area is first realizing what's coming out of your mouth. You know, is it majority of the time negative or majority of the time positive, right? And if it's negative, start looking back to the people that you're hanging around, right? The things that you're watching or listening to. Is that negative information, or is that positive, uplifting information that's coming into your life? Because that's it's not a quick, easy fix, but that's a simple fix that will take time. That if you learn to edit people or edit things out of your life, it will help you start to overcome this number two, not seeking possible solutions. Because if you live in this negative, sorry for yourself wallow, that's where you're always going to be in. But if you start to look at positive things and look forward, you're going to start to walk out of that. Number three was that sense of powerlessness. So it goes back to a little bit of what I talked about before, but life continues to throw situations at them. From their perspective, they can do nothing to succeed or escape. So a good way to overcome this sense of powerlessness is to start to celebrate the small wins. Start to document. A good way to do that is journaling, reflecting on. So I wake up in the morning, I reflect on my previous day, and I start to ask myself, you know, what did I love about my day? What did I learn about my day? What are some of the positives that I can focus on? What are some of the things that I'm grateful for? Instead of waking up to only thinking about the negatives. And then number 4 here is negative self-talk and self-sabotage. Everything bad happens to me. I can't do anything about it, so on and so forth. Having the right friend in your life who can say, you know what, enough negative self-talk. Let's start to focus on things that are going right. Will really help you grow from that. And you can use some of the tools I've already given you. But one tool that I like to use is the 24-hour rule. So when something negative happens in your life and you have 24 hours to kind of be like, man, I kind of feel sorry for myself. But after that 24 hours, you gotta get up and you gotta move forward and you gotta learn from it and adapt and you gotta lead. And the only way you can lead is by example. So if we continue to be in this negative self-talk, this negative poor me, that is the example, that's the influence that you're going to have on your team. So that's a lot of information, but I wanted to encourage everybody out there today, if you're finding yourself in this victim mentality, this negative self-talk, simply put, just like John did, start with the people you hang around, start with what you're listening to, start with what you're watching, and just I challenge you, just edit one thing out of your life that you know is negative that may be leading you down this path, and then reach out to me. I'd love to hear from you. If you edit one thing from your life, that's going to lead to more positive thoughts. That's going to lead to more positive words that you're speaking. That's going to lead to better actions that you're taking, right? And that's going to lead to better results for your lives. Hope this encourages you today. If you like what you hear, please subscribe and share this with a friend or leave us a review. Once again, we're here to help people out there listening grow their business, grow their life, grow their marriages, grow their friendships. They're just the relationships through leadership development. That's waking up each day knowing that I'm here to get better. So if you have this victim mentality, or if you know somebody that does, my hope is that this encourages you to overcome it or encourages you to help that person overcome it. Hope you have an amazing day, and I'll talk to you next time.